There's a reason cattle people say never let a steer see an open gate until you're ready. Today, we find out if that advice pays off. Hi, and welcome back to Whitetail Acres Farm. Today is one of those bittersweet farm days that I think a lot of you either know about or are curious about. We're taking 3 of our steers to the meat processor in Lancaster County. Now, before we even think about the trailer, we had to get it organized. And honestly, getting cattle to the trailer is usually the hardest part of the whole day. So let me show you how we set it up and exactly what happened. The good and the parts that could have gone wrong. First step was to lock our Hereford heifers out of the pen area. Why? Because the steers and the heifers share a dividing fence line, and the way our pens are laid out, you can't open the gate to move the steers without the heifers trying to come along. And if a heifer gets in that alleyway ahead of a steer, it just turns into a whole different problem. So Ryan went in and gently moved the heifers over to the other side, closed them out, and then opened up the dividing fence between the steers and the heifers' pens. And that gave the steers a nice path. That's the kind of thing that sounds simple in a sentence, but takes patience on the ground. You don't want to rush the cattle. Rushing them is how they get spooked. For folks who haven't moved cattle before, here's the thing. Cattle are creatures of habit. They walk the same paths, they learn their pen, they know their gate, so when you open the right gate at the right time, a lot of the time they'll just go, which is exactly what happened next. If you're enjoying today's video, hit that like button, and if you want to follow along as we continue building Whitetail Acres Farm, we'd love to have you subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, click that join button below and become a member. Your support helps make projects like these possible, and we truly appreciate every single one of you. Okay, let's get back to those steers and see if we can get them loaded up. Ryan opened the dividing fence, and then he just waited, patiently. He didn't chase them, didn't holler. He let the steers decide to walk out of their pen area and drift over near the holding pen that leads them to the cattle chute. And thankfully, it didn't take them long. All 3 steers went straight to the holding pen, like they knew exactly what to do. Honestly, watching them do it right is a good feeling. This is where experience shows up, because if you force cattle, you end up chasing them all over the place, and it just turns into a whole mess. Once they were in, Ryan closed the gate behind them. Then came the part where things can get a little bit tricky, and that's ushering them into the alleyway that leads to the squeeze chute, which opens right up into the livestock trailer. And this is where I'll be honest with you. Sometimes one steer will go down the alleyway, but the others won't necessarily follow right away. Sometimes they get spooked at the last second and try to back up or turn around. You just never know what to expect when you're standing behind the chute. Ryan actually got hurt once. It was one of our first times having to load up the cattle, and he was in the alleyway with the cattle when they got spooked and tried to back up, and he tried to jump up out of the way by climbing the fence, but his leg got caught in between one of the steers and the fence, and he had a pretty good bruise on him for a while there. So you really have to be careful when you're loading them. We learned that, and now we're really careful and conscious about it. So there's always that moment where you're holding your breath and we're just wondering if they're going to cooperate or if you're going to have a rodeo on your hands like what we had experienced before. We were pleasantly surprised when all 3 walked calmly, one after the other, down the alleyway and right into the trailer. As soon as the last one was in, We quickly close the trailer door behind them because the second that door is shut is the second they might change their mind and try to jump right back out. Ryan had backed the trailer up to the squeeze chute with the tractor, so once the steers were secured, we used the tractor to move the trailer around to the driveway by our hay barn. There's where he unhooked it from the tractor and then secured it onto his truck. Then we hit the road to Lancaster County, where our meat processor is. And I'll say it, that drive is beautifully scenic, like always. It gives you a little time to think, which is both good and a little heavy on a day like this. Arriving and unloading at the processor was a cinch, which after the morning we'd had, we were grateful for. I went into the main office to let them know that we were there and ready to unload, while Logan helped navigate Ryan so he could back up to the unloading area. It didn't take long before Ryan was opening the livestock trailer door, and at first the steers were a little hesitant to come out because there's a little bit of a step for them, and the cattle never like having to step up or step down for any reason. They really don't. But after a couple of minutes, one was brave enough to make that step, and then the other two followed right behind. I don't know if it's just us gaining more experience with this whole process or if we keep getting lucky, but every time we have to load and unload the cattle, it seems to go even smoother than the time before. And I think there's a reason for that, and it's not luck. It's the setup. It's moving them calmly instead of rushing. It's opening the right gate at the right time and knowing when to just wait. Those are skills you build one load at a time, and every load teaches you something. It's always sad to see animals go to the processor. I won't pretend otherwise. But we are genuinely grateful for the opportunity to be able to raise our own meat in a natural environment, on our own grown hay, knowing that they spent their lives being cared for, and in return, they provide us with high-quality meat that is far tastier and healthier than anything we could ever buy at the grocery store. That's the whole farm-to-table story, start to finish, not in a grocery store aisle, but out here, where it actually begins. That's why we do what we do. If you've ever raised your own beef or you're thinking about it, we'd love to hear about your experience in the comments below. And if you haven't loaded cattle before and you're just curious about the process, ask away. We're happy to share what we've learned. We appreciate you being with us today, and we will see you on the next one.